Hey guys, it's Jill with Simply Made Unique by Jill. Welcome back to the Paint Pixie YouTube channel. Today we're going to be creating a faux grain on top of an ordinary tray table that I thrifted at a thrift store. So instead of just being plain and boring, I am going to add faux wood grain, boards, nails. We are going to go all out with this. And for the first time, I'm using Sheer Beauty Clear Mixing Glaze. And when we get to that step, I'll tell you exactly why I'm using that versus just all paint to do that faux wood graining. So you do need a wood graining tool. I ordered mine on Amazon. I'm sure you can get them at craft stores. We'll go over that as well. So I'm going to be putting on a transformation. This is something I'm going to be keeping in my house, so when company's over, I can bring it out. My husband absolutely loves the trucks in Old Betsy, so I decided to use one of them on here so we can have it around all the time. So we're going to be real close up, step by step, and I hope you enjoy this video. As you can see here, this is just a tray, TV, table, whatever you want to call it, from a thrift store. It's kind of boring, but we're going to make it spectacular. You are going to need a wood graining tool. I got mine on Amazon. A bunch of your favorite magical chalk paints. I'm using the Little D and Dusty, and of course part of Old Bessie. The first thing I did is take these two colors, Lemon Crinkle and our Blackberry Cobbler, and painted the whole table. Blackberry Cobbler, I just gave it a quick coat because we're going to be covering over all of that, but I wanted to have a solid base. Now these are the colors that I'm going to be using to make the faux wood grain. So first we're going to blend these colors together with our Dusty and our Water Girl. We're going to take our colors and we're just going to sporadically put them all over the table, being random. And now we're going to take our Dusty and our Water Girl. We're going to spray it down because we want movement. Normally we don't spray the magical chalk paint, but we want this to move, so we're going to keep it nice and wet. We're going to blend these all together quickly, and this is what it's going to look like at the end. We're going to let that dry really, really well. We are going to get now our Little B. We are going to get some mud pie, and also our Sheer Beauty Clear Mixing Glaze. So we're going to add some mud pie to a bowl. We're going to get a mixing stick, and we're going to add some glaze. Why are we adding glaze to this step? Because we're going to coat the whole thing, and we want to have the fluency of the Sheer Beauty glaze. The glaze is going to have a longer work time with a little bit of water. We really want this to be more of a liquid consistency or a fluid consistency than the paint already is. So we're going to add some of the glaze in there. We're going to mix it up. If it doesn't feel thin enough, you're going to see me adding a little bit more. I want to thin out that paint and make it workable. So I want this to stay open long enough for us to get the whole top coated. Now normally you think of a glaze, you'd be adding it over paint for some distressing, but here we're actually going to be adding the wood grain. So you can see I have my wood graining tool. I got these on Amazon. It was a set of 3 different sizes. I'm going to take the biggest one and the smallest one. The biggest one is going to get me my big grain. The smallest one is going to get me some finer detail. But first we need to coat this entire surface with our glazed mud pie color. And then we're going to take those tools over the top of that. So we do want to use our Water Girl to spray some water on there so we keep this nice and wet and workable. And then we're going to take our tool and rock it back and forth, and you can see it starts pulling the paint away with the tool. So now I have really thick grain. You can see I'm taking the little one and making some finer grain. We're also going to take a paintbrush and we're going to start painting in some lines to make these look like boards. So I'm going to start separating the paint a little bit, not being very specific about it. We're going to be adding more color in after this dries. You're going to give that Sheer Beauty glaze time to dry. I let this go about 24 hours before I move on to the next step. And I just keep working it until I like the results. Now here's where we're going to be adding some detail to this. We're going to make this look even more distressed with a little bit of paint. We're going to take an artist brush, and we're also going to take our Frenchie or Little Frenchie, and we're going to be adding some cream puff onto the edges. So I take this beautiful cream color and I'm going to add like a little bit of worn off paint to our wood. So I'm going to put a little bit in a bowl. We are going to get our Frenchie because I love the way this gives it like a dry brush look. So the brush is not wet. We're going to offload some of that paint, and we're just going to start swiping our edges to give us that worn, chippy look on the paint. We're going to go all around. We're going to start defining where those boards are, and we're also going to be swiping paint in between, and it's going to be lightly adding a little bit of white paint just to define those board looking. I am going to speed this up so we can get the whole thing done and move on to the next part of the distressing. As you can see, as I get all the edges done, I'm happy with everything that looks here. I'm going to add like little nail holes. So first we're going to put these little spots in where paint would have stuck into a nail hole to define like where our boards are. So we're going to put 3 across the big parts, 2 across the little parts, and just randomly where a board would be. I'm going to make them look a little pulled out and worn back. And then we're going to take some mud pie and we're going to put in dots like nail heads. So we're just going to dot each one of those little white dots with a tiny bit of this mud pie here just to give the illusion of a nail being in there. I really like this look, and I really like how distressed and worn this is going to be. I'm taking a little bit more mud pie and defining where those boards are, and I think this is just going to be a great look when it's done. Now here I'm taking the biggest chalk out of the old Bessie transformation pack, and I just love this chalk, and I love that the wood graining, the faux wood graining has blue in it. So we're going to use this chalk. I think it goes great with that mud pie and that blue color. And if you've ever seen a transformation done, you just burnish it down to your wood. You gently lift back on this film until it releases, and then it is on your piece. So we are going to put a sealer over this, and I do it off camera because I'm going to give this some time to settle in and dry. And I'm going to be putting force field on the top of this table so I can use it for drinks and stuff when company's over. So you just make sure you get all your parts down, you take your paper, turn it over, burnish it down even more, and look how beautiful it came out. I just love how this table looks now. It's great for when company's over. It's a great way to have a piece of your art in the house sometimes, but not always. So if you guys like videos like this and you enjoyed this one, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment, and thanks for joining.